Could Russell Westbrook be on his way to the Houston Rockets? Kevin Durant was actually asked about that, and his response was a bit interesting. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, Giannis finally responds to the trade rumors around his name over the last week or so, and we have word from Brian Windhorst on what the Bucks expect from a Giannis trade. We're going to talk about all that plus more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into it today, y'all. So one of the teams that has a big hole right now on the roster is the Houston Rockets. After Fred VanVleet went down with a ACL injury that's going to leave him out basically the entirety of the year, they're now trying to figure out what they're going to do. And reportedly, Ime Udoka plans on, not only trying to find the fifth starter, things like that, but, just give it some time to allow the pieces to acclimate. But the Houston Rockets aren't above trying to find a trade. Reportedly, that they're going to give it to about January, and then at that point, they're going to try to evaluate where they are and maybe what's out there and maybe bring in a point guard. But there's a talented point guard that's out there, that's somebody that is a former MVP that will be a Hall of Famer, and that's Russell Westbrook. And Russ started off his career with KD. Those guys, were the first OKC Thunder. And, while their split didn't end the best, right? And I've been somebody that anytime somebody asks or brings up Russ in regards to the Rockets, I say, no, let's not even start that. Russ doesn't really bring what VanVleet brought as far as leadership or anything like that. But for whatever it's worth, Kevin Durant was asked about it on the Up and Adams podcast. And he said this: I have no clue. I haven't asked anybody about that. I heard that too. It hasn't been brought to my desk at all. And usually when stuff like that happens, it's pretty loud. But I haven't really heard it outside like the fans on the internet. Yeah, Russ is a legend. I think he deserves to be in the NBA right now. And I think he deserves to walk out the NBA on his terms. So yeah, that would be dope. But it's not my decision. Leave that up to whoever makes those decisions for now. I don't expect a Russ and KD reunion. I just don't expect that. Not to say that those two aren't mature enough to get it done for the business, right? I think that they are. And, not to say that Russ can't help the Houston Rockets either. I don't think he replaces the leadership that VanVleet brought. I don't think he's necessarily the playmaker as far as passing perspective either. But for what it's worth, Russ has shown himself to be able to be a player to play a more complementary role. He was able to do that last year in Denver. And also, when he stepped in as a starter for Denver last year, he played pretty damn well, right? So Russ is still a very productive player. Why Russ does not have, an NBA job right now seems like it's a much about narrative and everything else. People have mentioned that he could be a bad teammate and stuff like that. For what it's worth, his teammates in Denver have all basically come out and supported him, in that, and have said that they don't understand where that's coming from. And when you look at it last year, as a starter, Russ started 36 games for Denver. And he averaged 15 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and over a steal and a half per game on 50% shooting from the field, only 33% shooting from three. But this is still a guy that can absolutely be productive. Now, you do have to commit to playing a particular type of style of basketball when Russ is out there on the court. That's just the type of basketball player he is. Could he help the Houston Rockets? I'm sure, because they do have Ime Udoka as the head coach, they'd figure out the best way to balance it. Now, I think the Rockets are going the best way about it. Going through training camp, going through this preseason, trying to find out what they have as far as, can they do the ball handling by team? They're still trying to figure out what they have in Reed Shepherd, if he's ready to make a step, because he didn't look like an NBA player at all his rookie year, at least not to me. And so far through one preseason game, they played off against Atlanta, and they won 122 to 113. Now, it's preseason basketball. It's very different, right? So I'm not going to take preseason basketball as a one-for-one. The starters aren't playing heavy minutes at that time. Reed Shepherd did start at point guard. He played 19 minutes. He was 2 of 6 from the field, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 turnovers, 7 points. So take that for how you will, right? And, they did have 24 assists on the night, but that was compared to 32 for that Atlanta Hawks team that they were facing off against. So, we'll see. But it's not that the decision needs to necessarily be made now. But I do feel like Russell Westbrook is right now going through something similar that Carmelo did before he had to, he was out the NBA and then came back in. I do think people are going to realize that Russ can help a team. And we'll see what the narratives and all that thing ends up being, but Russell Westbrook can help a basketball team right now. Will that be with the Houston Rockets? Probably unlikely, but I do hope that we do see him in the NBA this season. But let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think that Russ can help the Houston Rockets? Do you think that is a place that they should look at a veteran point guard that you're probably going to be able to get for the vet minimum at this point? Or do you think they should continue what they're doing through the offseason and then evaluate around December, January, if they need to make a move and bring somebody in? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Now, over the last couple of days, we've heard a lot of trade things with Giannis, right? We've heard that he was interested in going to the Knicks, that there was, the Knicks and the Bucks actually talked. There were some other teams as well that we heard about. Well, Giannis finally asked about it. He said this. First of all, I haven't read that story. When the season starts, I try to get off social media and I try to focus on my craft and the team. But yeah, I've said this many times. I want to be in a situation that I can win, and now I'm here. I believe in this team. I believe in my teammates. I'm here to lead this team to wherever we can go, and it's definitely going to be hard. We're going to take it day by day, but I'm here. So all the other extra stuff does not matter. I think that I've communicated with my teammates, communicated with the people I respect and love, and that moment I step on the court or in this facility, I wear this jersey. The rest does not matter. I'm locked into whatever I have in front of me. So we'll see. But he did throw in at the end of this. He said this. Now, if in the 6-7 months I change my mind, I think that's human too. You're allowed to make decisions you want, but I'm locked in. I'm locked into this team. I'm locked into these guys, to this group, and to this coaching staff, and to myself. But I love that Giannis admitted, like, hey, 6-7 months down the road, I could very well change my mind. And if I do, so be it. And I respect that from Giannis, that he says that, right? Like, we know that Giannis, if the Bucks continue doing what they need and making the right moves, Giannis is going to keep giving them a chance. Now, eventually those chances could run out, and it could leave Giannis to get to the point to where he feels like he needs to make a move that's better for the way that he wants to compete at this point in his career. And if he does that, listen, he brought a championship to Milwaukee. He did that. He won an MVP, right? He did all of that. But, and for what it's worth, he's still locked in. And I don't see the situation, even if it does get to a point where Giannis feels like he has to ask for a trade, I don't think it's going to turn into Jimmy Butler's situation. He's not going to make a fuss out of it. I think the Bucks will acquiesce. They'll talk to Giannis. They'll try to figure out what list of teams that they want and what it offers them, what they need back, and they'll move forward, right? But, for Giannis, the Bucks, Doc Rivers, everybody's kind of tired of hearing about this, right? Doc Rivers has said it himself that directly, that he's tired of hearing about it. It's time to lock in. It's season mode. The season is here, right? And so because of that, it's time for everybody to lock in and focus on what's ahead of them. And that is a long 82-game season that is grueling. And then you got to go through it and go through the playoffs, hopefully, too. So, at this point, I understand Giannis wanting to shift to, I'm focused on my team right now. Now, that could change. And if it does change, so be it. But locking in and focusing on what you have going on with this team that's trying to compete, that you got guys that are excited to play with you, and Miles Turner, and you got some interesting bench step pieces to see who ends up stepping up for you, I can understand all of that. Now, for what it's worth, these rumors aren't going to go away. And for that matter, Brian Windhorst was on NBA Today, and he said this. There's been an expectation for quite some time that Giannis' days in Milwaukee, one way or another, are numbered. Whether that was going to happen this year, whether it's going to happen potentially during the season, or whether it happened next year. And when you go and get into these situations like this, I find it very useful to focus on actions over words. Let's look at the actions of the parties that we have discussed here, and we'll see, right? And then he goes on to say how the Milwaukee Bucks waive and stretch Dame Lillard. That cost them $100 million in dead money on their books. They spent an additional $100 million to sign Miles Turner. These are not actions of a team that is about to trade the best player that they've had since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And I get what you're saying there. Now, the expectation, I think you have to prepare yourself. And I think if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, you can't act or think that you've done enough, that Giannis is just going to want to stay locked in. You have to continue. And that's what Giannis is using with the pressure and the power that he has. Continue putting pressure on that front office to continue making the right moves, right? So, yeah, the Knicks, they're going to be circling around. And Windhorst talks about the Knicks and them, locking in Miles Bridges and things like that, and how they are kind of locked in and not making a significant trade. But it's not just about the Knicks. I get why the Knicks have come up. I understand that. That's been the rumor. And the Knicks are a team that's always going to be circling some type of star at some place, right? By the way, the Knicks just hired Peter Patton as their shooting coach. Shout out to them. They got a good one. But I think overall, like, whatever happens, happens. And at this point, right now, Giannis is locked into getting ready for the season. And I respect him for that. And let these guys figure it out. If it gets to the point where Giannis wants to be traded, and he'll be another superstar to ask to be traded with a $50 million contract. If that's what happens, that's what happens. But as it stands right now, Giannis is a Milwaukee Buck. He can become a free agent in 2027. And, he may use his power in looming free agency to try to push the Bucks to either continue making moves or to get himself out of there. And we'll see. But I want to hear from you guys on this one. What do you think the ultimate resolution is going to be for Giannis and the Bucks? Do you think that he's going to ultimately be traded? Do you think he's going to stay there long term? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Last time before we get out of here today, Jayson Tatum gave an update on his injury, and he is now 5 months into his rehab, and he said this: I feel like myself again. He did tear his Achilles in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Of course, against the New York Knicks, it was terrible to see, right? But for what it's worth, he's feeling better. He says, I'm feeling great. I'm back on the court. I'm back working out. Just starting to feel a lot more like myself. It's been a long journey from the first day of surgery to where I am now. I feel great. I'm just happy to be back on the court and playing the game I love. Now, Jayson Tatum and the Celtics refuse to close the door on him returning this season. And it's great there, right? And this is going to be a grueling test for Jayson Tatum to get back on the court. If he does get back on the court this season, the way I have personally looked at it and I've communicated about it is that I just view it as it just gets him some reps and maybe helps him get over the hump so that he's not starting off next season doing that. And it allows you to tack rehab, and hopefully, like Achilles injuries, typically takes like 12 months after you're healed to look back like yourself. Right now, there have been some players that have returned quicker from that. And, it is what it is there. So if Jayson Tatum can be that next guy, great, so be it. But no need to rush Jayson Tatum. No need to, rush any of that and put the pressure on him to come back to save the Celtics season or anything like this. The Celtics are saved up, are ready as well as far as, listen, if the season goes left, they own their own first round pick. If the season's going better than expected, they can trade Anthony Simons. They could trade the pick. They could try to get somebody in here now. And help them, especially if they think Jayson Tatum's going to come back. There's a lot of different options that could be there. But ultimately, we'll just see how it shakes out, and we'll see the way that it goes. But you guys can let me know how you're feeling all of that down below. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything basketball related. And like I like to end every episode on, I catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.